Okay. Technically, we're a couple seconds early, so I'll just wait a moment. I'll go ahead and send out this blue sky thing.
We be live.
All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 46 of the Superman Super Show live. I was telling Ed, how you doing?
Pretty good, sir. How are you?
Good. I was telling Ed, for those of you who are watching the video live, this won't go into the episode itself, but on Saturday, April the 18th, the Superman Super Show will be celebrating 4 years. First episode landed April 18th, 2022.
So I have a quick question that has really nothing to do with anything, but
okay.
Is the clock behind your head supposed to be correct?
No.
Okay. It is not, so we're in good shape. Okay.
Yeah, it should say 10 o'clock, but okay. I haven't set it forward since we sprung forward.
I was just going to say, I like that because it's kind of a time anchor for the actual recording. If somebody goes back whenever and looks, doesn't say the date, but you can see, oh, well, they must have been doing stuff in the morning or what. Yeah. I just, little stuff like that I just notice is because a lot of times people will try to completely erase anything like that. So it's as time generic, I guess, would be
evergreen or whatever.
Yeah, as it can be. And I'm like, no, I don't care that people know that I recorded this 47 years ago. I mean, what, it's like, hey.
Yeah. Yep.
Look at the books that we read. They have a year on them.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, I think the only time, I think anybody who might care about that, I would think it would be more the opposite, like podcasts that are talking about the new hotness, as you call it. They want to make sure that everybody knows that they are doing it as timely as possible.
Right. Yeah. These just came out this week and we're talking about it before anybody else. And it's like, okay, whatever. You go, dog. Do you?
Yeah. All right. Well, there's nobody currently viewing us. Do you want to go ahead and get started on the episode, I suppose?
Yeah, we can. I know I put it out on Blue Sky and Twitter. Billy retweeted it, re-skied it, skeeted it, whatever Blue Sky is. But it was the, okay, guys, 1 more hour to go announcement that you said on Blue Sky. And I'm just wondering if the announcement in an announcement when the actual time is got lost in there somewhere.
I don't know.
Because since he redid it, I would assume that he would probably be here because he knows about it. Unless he's out gallivanting with his wife in the nature air, which he is wont to do as well. So,
yeah.
But
we have a couple people watching now, but we'll see if anybody chimes in to say hello
or leaves.
Yeah.
Oh, look, bye.
We get a lot of those. We'll go, oh, here's somebody watching. Oh, they've left. It's like every time I go to watch them, all they talk about is, look, there's somebody watching. Well, that's because you leave right after we say it.
Exactly. If you just hung out another 15 seconds, you wouldn't hear that anymore. So, yeah.
All right. Let me just double check that I'm recording, and I am. So I'll get started if you're all right to get started.
I am all right to get started.
The following episode was recorded in front of a live streaming audience on Sunday, April the 12th, 2026. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 97, The Case of the Death Express. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven. And 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore. Ed, how are you?
Pretty good this fine Sunday morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. It's raining. We had a lot of rain a couple weeks back, and it was just muddy for a week, and then it finally dried up, and now it's raining all over again, and now it's just going to be muddy again all the time. But Yeah, whatever.
But by the sounds of it, it's muddy in 60s, not muddy in 20s.
This is true.
Muddy in 20s is less fun than muddy in 60s. So.
This is true. We're currently on kitten watch over at the house.
Okay.
Three of the female cats outside were all pregnant at the same time.
Ooh, wow.
One by one over the course of like 3 or 4 days, they would disappear and then come back without the belly. We heard the sound of one kitten Friday under the porch. So yeah, now we're just all the time looking out onto the porch, see if we see any kittens.
Need to find that male cat and get him snipped.
Yeah, we had started to do that. There's the Humane Society for the county does a program. It's like a catch and release. If we catch the stray cat and bring it in, they'll spay or neuter it for it's like $45.
Okay.
So it's fairly, I take it to the vet and it's going to be like $200 to spay or neuter a cat.
Yeah, really.
But what they do is when they spay or neuter it, they clip the top of one of the ears off. So because the idea is spay or neuter, and then you just set it back out, bring it home, set it back out into the wild. It's still going to be a stray cat out, but it obviously can't get pregnant or make somebody pregnant. But then the ear, if the Humane Society is out and they see it, they know that that's already one they've
or anybody else. If somebody catches it up and says, I'm going to do it, it's like, nope, it's already been, because it's got the mark.
But yeah, we did it with a couple. We managed to get a couple of them a couple of years back, but the males that are causing the problem, they're very hard to get a hold of. They're very skittish. They run as so we've tried to do any of the females out there, but yeah, it's a real pain in the butt, and then having to find the time to take them to
doing that for a feral colony is a whole thing. I mean, it's
just because it's like, just because they are coming to my house, why am I responsible? But yeah, we try to do what we can do.
Right.
All right. I feel like I had something that I was going to talk about. I remember thinking about it yesterday. Oh, I'm totally going to talk about this when we do banter. And now I can't remember what it is. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay.
We okay with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, let's get this episode of rolling then. This might be not a super long one. Of course, that depends. Sometimes we get into the discussion and that.
Yeah.
So today we're looking at the Superman tale that appeared in World's Finest Comics #3. The issue sports a cover date of fall 1941, though it hit the stands in August. It sold for just 15 cents, and the story is entitled The Case of the Death Express. It was written by Jerry Siegel with art by Leo Nowak. And here's what happened in the story. Superman helps the victims of a train crash, then discovers that the track was sabotaged. When a second wreck occurs, the Daily Planet prints a scathing article about the train company's safety. When a second wreck occurs, the Daily Planet prints a scathing article about the train company's safety precautions. Superman observes the train company and learns that Detective Sparky Waters has been hired to find the source of the sabotage. Superman questions Waters, which leads him to the Bruno Fletcher mob, who are responsible for the crashes. Superman prevents another crash, then deals with Waters, who is working with the saboteurs. Superman tracks down Waters and his boss, Thornton Bigsby. Bigsby, it seems, hoped to ruin the train company, then buy it cheap. Superman calls the police and leaves the crooks for them. Ed, what'd you think of this one?
I enjoyed the story and your reading of the synopsis, both. Not necessarily in equal measure, but I did enjoy them both. So.
Just getting back in the saddle.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay. That's we'll go with that. Overall, it was. I mean, despite, train crashes that can kill hundreds of people or whatever. I thought it was a pretty light, flippy story. It flipped from scene to scene, but it didn't feel to me, and it could be, because this is the first Golden Age story I've read in a little while, so it's not fresh in my mind. But it didn't seem frantically going from place to place to place like some of the other stories did.
Yeah.
It was kind of it just had a more laid back feel. We're here. Oh, now we're there. And we're going to go over here, kind of feel to it. Some of those other stories, it's almost like it's at gunpoint. Do this, do that, do that.
Yeah. There's almost a sense of urgency from some of those others because they go from scene to scene to scene so fast.
Yeah.
They can have 9 different scenes on one page. This one, yeah, you're right. It was kind of a laconic, it was kind of fun. What it made me think of when I got about 3 pages in, I realized, oh, this is because it's in this World's Finest Comics. It's like, this is kind of a generic Superman tale to, a reader-friendly generic Superman tale to maybe hook somebody who maybe at this point hasn't yet started reading either Action Comics or Superman. So
could be. So in actuality, it would have been written kind of with a little different intent than a Superman or an action story at this point.
That's how I felt, but I don't know.
I mean, we'd have to trip back in time a little bit and talk to somebody to ever find out, but all of that sounds reasonable. So, yeah.
Of course, there's also part of me that's like, why would they want to write a story, put a story in this has a different feel than what's in Superman and Action Comics to try to get people over there? Because then they're going to go over there and go, well, this isn't like what I read.
Yeah, it's not the same. It doesn't feel like, yeah.
But otherwise, it was a fun little adventure. Had some silly moments.
Mm-hmm.
Had some. I would almost consider this. It seems kind of weird to say, but if I was to think of these as this story and then like the last Action Comics we read.
Mm-hmm.
If I thought of them in movie terms, the Action Comic story would be PG. This would be G. That's kind of the way, even though we think a guy dies in it, but he doesn't. And I thought for a moment that there was a corpse falling out of a window, but he wasn't a corpse at that point. But yeah.
I think even maybe using that movie analogy, the billionaire's daughter would be more like the main feature, whereas this had more of a serial feel. This is installment 3 of a 9 installment serial that they've put together, something like that. So it was enough to keep you interested, but it wasn't so much that, well, if you miss it, you're out of luck. Don't mess with any of the others, kind of thing. So, yeah.
All right. You want to take us through it?
Certainly. Let me throw this out there first, which is something that we don't typically do consistently. These are the places that anybody that wants to read this, if they're not reading it and haven't already read it, but having listened to this, if they actually want to go and read the story. Superman, the World's Finest Comics Archive, #1 from DC, 2004. And I believe there are at least 3 of these that they made. Each World's Finest was represented by the Superman and Batman story that was in that issue. And then that was all that they had from that issue. Then they would go to the next issue in the archive. And so that's how they've set it up. But I've only seen 3, but I would think that there has to be more than that, but I didn't research it extensively to make sure. Superman Chronicles #6 from DC 2009. Superman, the Golden Age Omnibus #2 from 2016. And mine, Superman, the Golden Age #4 from 2018. And actually, this is the first story in #4. So we're starting a brand new volume here covering this story. And other places, I mean, you can sail the high seas and find copies of it. It may be reprinted in other like this one specific story may be reprinted
Yeah.
in other compendiums and things that they have put out. I don't know. They're not listed. I'm looking at a list on the Grand Comics database. This story only having 4 reprints, I find that a little hard to believe that that's all there's been, but
Yeah, and of course, if you're a member of the DC app, DC Universe Unlimited or whatever it's called, you can read this story there. Keep in mind, just like a lot of these collections, if you go to like the DC app and you find World's Finest Comics #3, chances are you're only getting the Superman story. They didn't, unless they were digitizing the other stories to put into other collections, they're not gonna show up on the site.
All right. So we go to the splash. The splash panel. It's got a scene of Superman falling, since he's not necessarily officially flying yet, but he's falling towards a couple trains that you can see in the bottom portion of the panel, about to collide. They're coming at each other from opposite directions.
The position that his body is in throughout this story, every time we see him either leap or fall or just leaping, he's making that it almost looks like he's running almost in midair.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very close to the iconic Superman flying look.
Yeah, with
the
one arm,
one back. And so I wonder if this is where they start, because they're again, I think we're kind of done arguing about whether he's flying or not. But as far as once they actually start drawing him flying, they start using some of these same poses. These aren't quite as streamlined as they will be. They're they look more like he's leaping or running in air, but yeah,
almost like an intermediate between just running across the air or flying across. They're somewhere in between the two.
We just got to find the missing link.
Yes. And the narrator tells us, most foul of all crimes is deliberate mass murder. When it comes to the attention of the amazing man of tomorrow that a series of railroad accidents are far from accidental, he determines to bring the vandals to justice. I'm not sure vandals is the right word there, but okay. Once again, Man of Steel and the forces of evil clash in stirring combat.
Savan from YouTube says, surely we can argue some more. Probably referencing the arguing about whether or not Superman's flying.
Yeah, we could just about every story we talk about. Know.
The fact of the matter is, from what I remember reading, I don't think they mention that he is flying until it's going to be over a decade from where we're at now.
It's a while. And even though drawing him in that, what is that? Is that supine? Whatever the name of that pose is where he's laid out, they will draw him that way before somebody says that he's flying.
Yes.
And after that, after it's mentioned that he's flying, that is always the pose. So you can argue that, well, he was flying because of the way it's drawn before somebody had actually said it. And yeah, Steeven and I, we have the advantage or maybe disadvantage, depending, of knowing a lot of current contemporary Superman and powers and things like that. And so we have that in our mind and we compare that to what is going on in the Golden Age. And at times we're anxious to see him do this or to do that. And for me personally, I can say dude flying is one of the main things, because that is absolutely how he moves from any place to any place. He flies. And it always picked at the back of my brain that, well, he didn't do that from the beginning. And I always wonder, well, why? What's the problem with,
Well, and that's the weird thing, because the radio show that's going on right now as these issues are coming out, he's flying all over the place on the radio show.
I don't know what the, so anyways. So, based on the opening splash panel, we see that, oh, dang, Superman didn't quite get there in time. So he was witness to this head-on collision between, I think it's going to be a freight and a passenger train. I think is what they're trying to tell us, because there's two different styles of locomotive engines there.
Yeah.
I will say that this panel of the collision between the two, to me, looks very muddied. And I wonder if that's because of the coloring of this, or the recoloring of this in order to reprint it. Because this, in black and white, I think this would have been a pretty, again, as far as something like the collision of two trains go, a very nice black and white rendition. But the coloration just kind of, in my eye, just kind of muddies things up a little bit. And at first, I couldn't necessarily tell what they were showing me.
Yeah.
And then after a moment or two looking at it, it's like, oh, well, they're just showing the head-on collision of the two, and that's it. And yeah.
Well, it doesn't help, like you said, the coloring, the one train that is coming from the, I guess, the right-hand side of the panel is colored the same as the bridge.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Which I have mentioned before, and I still believe these current recolorations that they do when they reprint these don't necessarily do the comics a whole lot of favors. There's, to me, there are just pretty standard saturation issues. They oversaturate these colors, and when you do that, you, again, to my eye, you start to muddy a lot of the fine detail, or maybe even detail period, because of these blown out colors. Now, admittedly, in the 40s, they only had so many colors to choose from, 16, 8 or 16. I forget what it was. Not the essentially millions of colors that computer coloration does. They were limited. So I understand that, but I just, so many of these modern reprints of particularly Golden Age, Silver Age doesn't seem to suffer from it too much. And I guess that's because maybe by the Silver Age, they had expanded what colors the originals could have been. But these Golden Age ones, most every hardback, or whatever you want to call it, compilation of Golden Age books I've seen, when I pop it open and look at it, the colors are just oversaturated. They're too harsh to me.
Yeah. Now, if you are watching the video, if you're joining us live or you're watching the video later, what we're looking at here live, the screenshots that we're looking at are actual scans from.
Yeah, that doesn't look too bad.
Yeah. I'm gonna pause for a moment because I suddenly have to go to the bathroom. I apologize. Okay. I'm very embarrassed. So I'm gonna mute, and then I'll be back.
Okay. So I am still here. For anybody that's out there that wants to participate. So there you go. Have at it. Yes, indeed we can. Sivan said we can keep ourselves busy. Upside down, smiley face. Which I'm not necessarily the hippest dude. I don't know if upside down signifies anything other than just upside down smiley face. So if there's some subtle nuance there that is also meant, I apologize for being a big goober and not really knowing that. So I was telling Steven before we started recording, on the cover, which we didn't really talk about. I think Steven put it up. I'm not sure. But down at the bottom, there's a short little list on the cover of the characters in it. Superman, Batman and Robin, Red, White, and Blue, and Zatara. And Ed, enjoying your shows with Billy D. That's Bill from Long Island. Thank you, Bill. As a matter of fact, Billy D and I will be recording again next Sunday. And Billy Evan and I will be recording next Saturday, as we are recording this. And then Sivan says, smiley face narration, A+ for effort. I take upside down as being silly. Okay, fair enough. But looking at the cover, my wife saw that I was reading this morning and asked about this character, Red, White, and Blue, if that was one character or a series of characters or what have you. Now, in reading the Superman Golden Age Compendium, the Superman story is the only story from this issue of World's Finest that is in there. The next issue will be or the next story will be a story from the next issue of Superman, as they have mapped it in these particular omnibuy. So I'm interested in seeing about trying to get a copy somewhere or a full reprint of the story, so I can see about the red, white, and blue, and for my own curiosity, but also for my wife, who isn't necessarily the biggest comic book fan. So, anytime she asks anything about comic books, I try to answer her to be, well, plus she's my wife. And so it kind of helps ease things along if I don't ignore her questions, as probably those of you that are also married would recognize as well. Red, white, and blue. Yeah, I don't know if that is it a team and it's 3 people in a group? Is that the name of one person? They have called themselves Red, White, and Blue. I don't know. I looked on the Grand Comics database, and it's like a 8 or 9 page story. So it's, as long as the Superman, it's a significant story in the issue. So I look forward to trying to find a copy, a full reprint of The World's Finest to read that and see. Golden Age stories continue to intrigue me. I'm also, as I'm reading Superman from the Golden Age, I spent a couple years back, I read the first 150 or 200 appearances of Batman from the Golden Age. I used to do a Dr. Fate podcast, and by the time I sunset the show, I had talked about all of Dr. Fate's Golden Age appearances. Currently reading Wonder Woman's Golden Age appearances as a read along with another podcast I'm listening to, and that's Sensation Comics. That's the Wonder Woman, her eponymously named book, and it's also now started incorporating All Star Comics. So and Steeven, as we have covered these stories, I always say that I can't sit down and read these Golden Age stories for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours at a time like I can more contemporary stories, but reading a story or 2 or 3. These Golden Age stories are just, particularly I think compared to a lot of things you find both in comic books and, dare I say, real life today. These Golden Age stories are just a lot of fun. They just are. I don't necessarily know that at the time they were intended to be, but my comparison nowadays is that they're a lot lighter. They're easier to digest. They're easier on the brain, easier on the emotions. It's just a lot less intense, I think. So after reading contemporary books that I really like, for instance, for those of you that are familiar with it, Something is Killing the Children, which is pretty intense. Flipping open and reading, a Wonder Woman from Sensation or her title, or a Batman or Superman story, even a Golden Age Flash, Aquaman, it resets my brain and puts me in a much different mood. And at times as I'm reading comic books, that is definitely a useful tool to have, is to be able to retune the brain after reading some of these and I enjoy them to an extent, but some of these intense things that you will read nowadays. I mean, and that's the purpose of the artwork and the writing is this intention, and it's what so many authors nowadays want to get across is the intensity of that. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. Even kids comics sometimes, like Archie, every now and then I'll pick up an Archie, and it just seems really intense. Well, for instance, they even went horror with Archie. Well, that's about as intense as you're going to be able to get, is horror. So, Bill from Long Island says, I'm unfamiliar with the team, but apparently it's 3 service members, 1 soldier, sailor, and a Marine. Red, white, and blue. Okay, cool. I look forward to finding that out. Red Duggan, Bluey Blue, and Whitey Smith. Now, see, that is a very intriguing team, depending on what they do with them, because that puts me in mind of some of the Bronze Age war comics that I've read before, with a Marine and a Navy dude and a dog, and so, some other combinations. So that's it. Red Dugan or Duggan, Bluey Blue. Now that's kind of weak, but okay. And Whitey Smith. Okay. All right, cool. Thanks, Bill. And what are you laughing? That I'm making fun of somebody's name?
Bluey Blue. Yeah.
Red Duggan. That could almost be a name.
Yeah.
Red, I would hope, would be like a nickname. But
both Red and Whitey are both used as nicknames for people. But
Whitey Smith, but Bluey. But wait, why would they nickname him Bluey? Because his last name is Blue. So that Anyways, poor guy. Okay.
It should have made him his first name Light Blue, or Navy, because he was a sailor, right?
Navy Blue.
Blue. See, they should talk
now.
To
Navy. That brings back back in my younger days when I attended graduate school. I worked in the financial aid office at the university that I was at, and I remember helping a gentleman whose name was, because his dad had been in the Navy, he had named him Gunner. So his name was Gunner Pendlebury. And I'm like, that is an all-time name right there. That has always stuck in my brain.
The two twins, you remember Ricky Nelson?
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple of boys, twins, who started a band in the late 80s, early 90s, hair metal band called Nelson. And one of them, I don't remember the other guy's name, but one of them is Gunner Nelson.
But he was not in the Navy, was he?
He didn't look like he was a Navy guy.
Seems like he spent a lot of time at garden parties.
Probably.
If back in the
and
late 60s, early 70s.
Gunny Highway from that Clint Eastwood movie, Heartbreak Ridge. He was called
yeah, you're right. Uh-huh. They called him Gunny. Yeah. Okay. Back to the story here. The two trains have collided, and word of the collision is radioed, breaking news. And so the editor at the paper that Clark Kent works at hears that. And he looks at Clark, who maybe has just stepped in to listen to the radio because he heard it was on, but he's like just stepped in, and the exchange, editor says, "Cover that." And Clark says, "At once." And that was it. That's
Boom,
all the narration.
Off to the races. Yeah.
Other than the announcement on the radio, that was the narration. That was the conversation between the two of them. So that was kind of amusing there. So Clark Kent runs out, finds it. Now this is, I'll point something out here that struck me as odd. Changes in the alley in Metropolis to Superman and jets off.
I know what you're going to say.
Now, the next panel we see, Steven brought up, Superman looks like he's running, but even this is kind of a curious running pose. It honestly looks more like a jumping, or
a long jump type of thing.
Yeah. So he's
like he's just started the long jump. He hasn't quite.
Yeah.
He hasn't extended that leg yet. But
yep. Next couple, 3, 4. 7, 8 panels are Superman at the train wreck helping. He's asking first. You have the normies signifying how bad it is, talking back and forth. And then Superman shows up and asks, what can I do? Where can I help? And it looks like either somebody with the railroad or maybe another passenger, not necessarily somebody official, says, the passenger car over there is in a bad way.
Yeah.
And so Superman runs over there. And the funny thing to me is he does this later, but he doesn't break into the car to help the people get out. He takes the car, removes it from the scene, in essence, comes over here in the field somewhere and sets the car down and then rips it open so the people can get out. And I'm thinking, jostling them around and the 15 or 20 seconds it took you to move.
Yeah. Now it was first of all, luckily all the passengers are on the one car apparently, or at least the ones that survived. But it appears to be pinned under a couple of other cars. So he's moving one or two cars. Yeah. And then he picks the other one up and he's like, there you go. It's free. It's like, okay. And that's when we turn the page. He's like, okay, but we can't get through the door because it's crushed. Can you get into the car for us? And he's like, sure thing. In fact, when we get that, what is that, page 3 at this point?
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, there, boom, here's the car there. And the guy says, your strength is beyond all belief, but the exits are crumpled. And the passengers are still trapped in there. Can you do anything about that? And Superman's response is, just watch me. And then he's supposed to be a wisecracker. I know I've mentioned it before, but in listening to this Superman biography that I've been listening to, it sounds like they purposely did. They wanted him to be a wisecracker. Right now, I don't think is really quite the time to be cracking wise, because then of course, he's ripping open the car. It's not as difficult as it looks, and it's like, quit being an asshole and just save these
just get the people out, man. Come on. Yeah, when you're punching the bad guys, you can quip away. That's fine. But here you're rescuing tens of dozens of people that are in who knows what kind of state. Just get to it and, be the hero.
It makes him sound really cocky.
Yes.
He's like, they're
flippant
like,
almost. Yeah.
Your strength is beyond belief. And he's like, haha, just watch me. And he's like, so easy. How?
Come on, dog.
You expect him to start kind of flexing see how I moved that car? And he points in a way to flex his muscle. And
he's constantly making it more and more difficult to ever have a date as Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just,
And yet, even though he's acting like that, once he rips open that car, the guy's like, you deserve some kind of reward. And Superman leaps away going, I'm not interested in glory. I've done my part.
So after that, Superman lands a short distance away, we're told, and he changes back to his identity as Clark Kent. And immediately I'm like, how? He left his clothes in Metropolis. He didn't Clark Kent anything. You're not going to tell me this pouch in his cape.
No. I'm gonna no prize this.
Okay.
He changed in the alley, and then he tucked a bundle of the clothes under his arm, jumped over there to where the train was, tucked his clothes away in some bushes, and then went to help.
Okay.
Because he knew that once he saved them, he'd have to be Clark.
He'd be on scene as Clark.
So he's like, I don't want to jump all the way back to the city and then all the way back here.
I think it's just an artistic disconnect in the fact that
I agree.
Changed over here, and I understand why you had him change there, because as soon as he could be Superman, he can go. Okay. And over here, I understand why he would change back to Clark Kent, but it's like there is no connection between the two. You miss the connection in artistically.
Yeah. All we needed was that the previous page after he changes, as he's leaping across that panel, all we needed is just a little bundle under his arm. If they just would have drawn a little bundle under his arm,
or one page saying just like this, where he's changing, where he drops into the forest and says, I'll leave these here, and then go back. And you're like, leave what there? What are you doing? And then this would be the get back to it, and you would see what he did. Yeah. So, so now Clark Kent is on the scene, and he's starting to snooper around a little bit and investigate the scene of the crash. I wasn't aware he was a National Transportation Board inspector, but so be it. Clark Kent is a man of many talents. It looks as though several sections of track were deliberately removed, he said, which, so what? That's not the nature of the wreck. The train didn't derail and flip off the wreck. There were two trains that hit head on. The trafficking of the trains is more the issue than the fact that there was some sort of sabotage. It's like, dude that is 8 states away that said the tracks were clear made a mistake with one or the other of the trains.
I didn't catch that until just now. It's like, of course, tracks are missing. So
that could have happened because of the collision and the explosion of the two engines.
It certainly wouldn't have caused the collision.
No. But that's what we're going to go with. Somebody is sabotaging the tracks. That's why 2 trains hit head on. Okay. And as he's looking, a couple of train handymen or train roustabouts. If it was a carnival, they would just be roustabouts. One of them would be yelling out, "Hey, Rube," and everybody would be jumping on Superman, right? That's kind of what they remind me of. They've got the men's chapeau of the period, but they're dressed in coveralls with buttoned at the collar shirts. I didn't know that went with coveralls, but or overalls if coveralls are different. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I don't wear either one, so I don't know. Yeah. So they run him off because he's getting too close to something that is going on, and so they either they toss him or they drive him off of the elevated. For those of you that have seen train tracks, usually when they build tracks, they build the tracks on an elevated mound to keep it for water and drainage issues. So he falls off. Clark Kent falls off the elevated mound that the track is on.
Yeah, these guys they're company men, and I guess they don't want. Well, the guy says it. You'll print only what the company wants you to.
Right. What and we don't know. What company? Is it a railroad? Is it one of the train companies? Is it there's several different companies that it could be. So later on at the Daily Planet here, Clark is finishing up his article, and those of you on the podcast can't see, but I did the finger typing thing there just without even thinking about it. Yeah. And then he hands it over to the editor. Just then the editor gets report of another train wreck. Some other reporter remotely is calling in to update rather than the radio. A radio message of another train accident. So because there's another accident, the editor was considering doing something with the story, maybe shelving it for right now or something, because it was kind of a one-off. But then the fact that Clark has suspicions based on the things that he saw and the way he was treated. And then Clark voices these suspicions, but then on top of that, the fact that there is another train wreck. Editor dude, and I keep saying editor dude because I don't know his name off the top of my head, and it's not been given out so far.
Perry White.
Okay. Is it Perry now already?
Yeah, I think they've called him Perry, or at least Mr. White. They usually just call him Chief.
Yeah. So he decides, Perry decides to go ahead and run the story the way that Clark wrote it, which would have been suspiciously, that something is going on, and here is his thoughts why, like a good investigative journalist would do.
I think he's calling out the railroad company. They don't name the company at this point yet. Oh, here,
Garth and Cowles.
Yeah, I think he's calling them out in the article for being very lax when it comes to safety precautions and whatnot. I will say that this page is going to give me nightmares. First, the third panel, that panel of the chief and his intense stare is
on the phone,
very
intense. Mm-hmm.
And then this giant baby in the sweater vest in the bottom panel handing out papers.
Okay.
That it looks like Charlie Brown, first of all. If Charlie Brown had a big lock of brown hair.
Okay,
but it looks like a big giant baby in a sweater vest handing out papers.
So the paper's printed and it's gone out with this slur, let's say, this negative impression of the railroad company.
Savon says, "So glad it's not just me. That dude is scary."
Oh yeah, you're either one. It's like first the intensity, and then the moving doll child there that one appears to be. Now someone stops by the paper to speak to Perry, Mr. Grant. Let's see, Grant Douglas. Excuse me, Grant Douglas. He is the lawyer, the attorney for Garth and Cowles. And immediately, this is the same day I assume that the paper went out. The attorney had read it, or someone at Garth and Cowles had read the article, whichever. and the attorney is demanding a retraction. And if you print any more such articles, there will be serious consequences. And Perry's like, I'll print whatever I wish.
Savon, going back to the previous page, Savon says, if you look up Bomba Baby, that's what he looks like. I'll look that up real quick.
Look up Bomba Baby. Okay. Do you realize the result of that damaging article, which automatically he is softening his stance, I think, from don't print anymore or there will be consequences, because now he's like, you just don't understand how bad it looks for, Garth and Cowell's stock is falling rapidly in value and it's your fault. It's like, well, that's not against the law, dude. I'm not doing anything that you could sue me for. So, Clark comes up. You forget, Mr. Douglas, that if the railway management were to take more safety precautions, there would be no need for such articles. So what'd you find with Bamba Baby?
I'm going to try to share it. I may
put
have
it up
to
on
put
screen.
this other one down real quick. Hold on just a second. Let me
remove
that one. And then, all right, come on. There, I have to do that. And then.
Yes, very close.
That lock of hair right there.
Kind of like a very young Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah.
Is who this puts me in mind of. Yeah.
If you remember, like Babies.
And is that a regional character, or do we have Bamba Baby over here in the U.S. as well?
I think it's so one of these says it's from Israel.
Okay, so it's regional character to their adverts over there. Yeah, I don't off the top of my head. It's for an Israeli snack. Okay, I was going to say I don't remember seeing that on anything over here. Although there are characters that are very similar likenesses to that. Like I said, Jimmy Neutron. He's a cartoon that was on Nickelodeon. If anybody remembers that back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, and that looked like a young one of him.
If you remember the baby, like the dolls, the baby
Cupid
toy dolls that they had back in the, I don't know, probably 70s, 60s, 50s, that with the like the cloth body that had stuffing in it, but then the head was always this hard, kind of soft
plastic.
But the baby was always bald, but it always had this bit of hair that was molded into the plastic. That
I've had a couple, and I don't remember mine being like that.
Well, yours were wrong then.
They had hair everywhere. Maybe not real thick, but it wasn't this. Oh, sit down.
I am sitting down.
Oh, okay. Stand up. No, I'm kidding. After Douglas departs, Clark and Perry talk. Perry tells him, disregard the lawyers. Just keep up with your articles. So Clark runs out and changes into Superman and goes to find more information for the articles. He follows the attorney, sees the attorney entering the railway company's offices, but they don't go ahead and name the offices here to make that connection 100% for you. Yeah. So I like how they have illustrated those little glass insulators that were on the power lines at that time. People collect those nowadays.
Yeah.
You see them all over, quote unquote, junk stores around here in my part of the country, antique shops, if that's what you want to call them. But yeah, made out of glass, and it's an insulator. Yeah.
I think my parents have a couple.
Yeah. Superman, he almost does, but this doesn't count for our official count. He almost does the hanging by the windowsill thing, but not. He lights on the side of the building, but there's a place for him to stand, holding on to the edge of the building, holding on to the sill. Actually, very much like a rock climber. He's holding on to the bottom of it, and then he's counter pulling with this hand here. It's like, oh, so you're doing some Utah rock climbing moves there. Yeah, I see you. Listening in to the office where there's a meeting of the railroad's board of directors. And again, they don't tell you definitively what railroad this is. So you can only assume it's not
They just
Clayton,
have the one.
Clayton and Cowles. That's a creator. Garth and Cowles. Clayton
Garth and
Cowles is what is he, an artist or was?
I think so.
So the lawyers here meeting with the people on the board of the railroad. Somebody says, and let me take a look up here. It's not the lawyer. He's on the other side of the panel here. Somebody says these wrecks will ruin us, but the publicity is even worse. Any luck? Douglas, as one of them, refers to the lawyer, and he is there and says not much. President Atkinson makes an announcement. Gentlemen, investigation has revealed that those wrecks were anything but accidental. They were accomplished by deliberate sabotage. What? So yeah, so these men, as far as we know here in this room, are not involved because they all seem surprised.
Yeah.
Even the president is saying that, hey, he has found further information. So unless he is being two-faced, and later on in the story, he'll say something to some lackey that lets us know, nobody here really knows what's going on from the way it's written. Somebody, and it's another person that's just on the board. It's not Atkinson. It's not Douglas. It's somebody else. Introduces Sparky Waters. It sounds like some kind of club drink or something.
Right.
A very capable private detective whom I've hired to track down the culprits. Now, this is interesting because they were just told that there was sabotage.
But
yet someone already.
I'm assuming this guy has to be President Atkins. We only see like a quarter bit of his face in that one panel,
but the color of the suit is different.
Yeah, but they do that a couple of times in this.
Yeah,
because there's a moment later where we see the big bad and Sparky and their suits. Actually, I think it's more of they just pointed the word balloons to the wrong characters. But,
okay, not that doesn't happen also. So
yeah.
Okay, and that's possible. He had gotten word early enough that something nefarious was going on, and he contacted Sparky to find out. Now, unfortunately, what that means is that the president is more involved than we think. Because how could Sparky have known that the president was going to contact him to take the lead on investigating this when we find out what else Sparky's involved with in so there's
he's already been working on the case. It sounds like, because he says that he's hot on the trail already.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But we find out later that he's involved in the case. So he was already doing it. So the president hired the dude that was responsible without knowing he was responsible. Yep. 1, 2, how could this dude be doing these things knowing that he would be given this opportunity to be in charge? I'm like, your plot logic is a little faulty right here.
Right. They need one extra scene.
The connections are not
where, they need one extra scene where we learn that the president has suspected since the first crash that this is some kind of sabotage. He just hasn't told anybody, but he suspects it. And then this private investigator, offers his services.
There you go. Because he had already planned and been executing, and then he'll come back and say, hey, I hear this is happening. Why don't I help you out for a nominal fee? Yeah. And so we're introduced to Sparky Waters, which Steven mentioned in the synopsis at the beginning. Sparky Waters. Let's see. Next off, Superman dislodges himself from the side of the building, his rock climbing escapades here, and now he's going to follow Sparky's car. He followed Douglas's car to the railroad owners meeting, and now he is following Sparky's car as he leaves, having been introduced as a private investigator that's going to look into whatever is happening with the trains. And I still maintain, Dog, you're looking for a switching error. You're not looking for an error in the tracks because, Superman does another one of these following, gliding under the cars. I'm still amazed that there's enough room for him to,
Right.
but he goes in from the back, flies, jumps, falls, whatever you want, gets under the car from the back, and then lifts the car. Takes it.
There's a big part of me now that wants to go, because this, yes, he didn't hang from the ledge, but we get this. So, we get something, but this has happened a number of times now that whenever I look at those panels with his legs sticking out from under the car, it just looks so ridiculous. It never looks, I don't know what it's supposed to look like, but it looks ridiculous. And I want to go back to all the volumes now and see how many panels we have of Superman's legs sticking out
from under the,
put them out on some kind of super post with all the different panels.
Superman hiding. Yeah. So he lifts the car and flies it up, or jumps with it up, takes it up to the top of one of the buildings there in Metropolis and sets it on top of the building. I guess it's not surprising that the building roofs are rated for this much weight. Yeah. Although I will say that this much weight in the amount of area that it would be in, I would be surprised if it's rated for that and doesn't cause problems. But which definitely is an issue here in another couple panels. But he separates Sparky by taking the car that Sparky is driving to the top of this building so he can question him. Sparky hops out of the passenger side of the car.
Yeah.
Okay. He slid across the big bench seat there to get out on Superman's side. Superman, what's the idea? I thought that this would be a good spot for us to talk in privacy. Let's see. Yeah, the bubbles are appropriately marked there. Superman says, I'd like to volunteer my assistance. Have you uncovered any clues? And Sparky says, what I've learned makes me believe that the Butch Flesher mob is behind these wrecks. Butch Flesher. Thanks. I'll pay Butch a visit. And Superman just leaves, leaving the car on top of the building and Sparky up there also. So I don't know. Maybe a couple days later, Superman came back to move. I don't know, but he just leaves it there now.
He's being a real dick in this issue.
And as Sparky says, hey, how am I going to get my car down off of here? And we've made comments before, haven't we, about Superman going back and undoing all of the things he does or all the things he breaks or all of the, it's like, yeah. There is a group in Marvel Comics that ultimately gets created and written about that goes and cleans up behind supervillain battles. And they have a couple of their, so recognizing this kind of thing and what do you do after, Marvel in the 80s actually comes up with an organization that's what they do. They deal with that. So
yeah, and I feel like that was a Dwayne McDuffie creation.
Might have been.
Damage Incorporated.
Sure.
Or Damage Control.
Damage Inc. That's the name
Damage
of a
Inc.
comic.
Was something too, right?
Isn't that the name of a comic? An actual comic from some point? Yeah. Which is funny. Probably 75 or 80% of the English language is a comic title sometime, somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a matter of if you've seen it and make that connection in your head that, hey, that was a comic book. But yeah. Minutes later, the Man of Steel alights outside the Fletcher mob hideout. So just by the name, Superman knew where the Fletcher mob congregates. And
not much of a hideout.
Just a suburban house with a.
Well, if Superman knows where it is.
A yellow sedan. Well, yeah, they don't try to hide it. That's for sure. So he shows up, listens in as they have a little conversation here. There's 5 guys in a room here. A few more minutes and there'll be another wreck, we hear. At the rate we're going, it won't be long before Garth and Cowles won't be worth a cent. So apparently that's their plan, to ruin Garth and Cowles by... I keep wanting to say party on.
Party on, Garth. Party on, Wayne.
To ruin the company for whatever reason. After hearing that, Superman breaks in. I've heard enough. And one of them says, and the other dude says, Superman.
And this might be the first time, though, we've had somebody basically go, it's Superman.
Superman. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because he doesn't announce his name either. Yeah. So they came up with it on their own.
Yeah, I know that there was an earlier, it may have even been The Billionaire's Daughter, where somebody was like, who are you, or who do you think I am? You're Superman. You know, somebody recognized him, but I think this is the first time we had a bad guy go, it's Superman. Scatter, boys. You know?
Which we've spoken about multiple times. That how big is Metropolis and the surrounding area that mob after mob after mob doesn't know who this person is when he's doing these miraculous deeds, making news. I mean, it's, so all the guys together managed to get out of the room because they release a gas in the room. They were ready for Superman finding them. And Superman makes like the gas knocks him out, incapacitates him, whatever. After the room is cleared of the gas, the gangsters enter again. Yeah, like, is there any possibility? You have no thought that he could be doing this? He's out just as we planned. And then all of a sudden, what? You're wide awake. Ever heard of someone playing possum, he says? It's like, yeah. And why would you want to screw with the fact that Superman might do that? I mean, it's Superman. Yeah.
Well, it's not the first time he's done it either. He's done this at least 2 or 3 other times.
Yeah. Although it is interesting that potentially they're hitting on something that could be a weakness of his.
Yeah.
And that's his breathing. You know, we've seen hand to hand, we've seen knives break, we've seen bullets, we've seen all of these other things that don't work. And so now the bad guys are thinking, well, it's not external. Maybe it's something internal that we can use to defeat him. So we'll try gas. Everybody breathes. Superman's got to breathe. So word is getting around, and they're starting to try some different things to try to defeat him at least. So now Superman jumps up and he's punching, smacking everybody. One of the dudes even is saying, when Superman punches out. Yeah, I know. So, yeah. And I guess basically he has knocked out everybody but the last dude, right? Because the last dude, the survivor is always used for one of two things. Either to get the information that you wanted to get, you just wanted to make a point, or you leave a survivor so he can take the message to someone else, whoever's in charge, the rest of the group, whatever. That's always the way it goes. The good guy, Chuck Norris, let's say, he'll come in, he'll kick the crap out of everybody, but one dude, and he's like, now. So one dude left. How did you know I was coming? The dude says, you'll learn nothing from me. Superman reaches over, is like, really? I'm going to bust this gas in your ass, and then you'll see. He reaches over, he's going to turn it back on. And the dude's like, no, don't, I'll talk. And here we find out. Sparky Waters telephoned, which I guess he found a way down at the very least. The last we saw him, his car was stranded. That doesn't mean he was stranded. There's a couple different ways off the top of a building, even in the 40s, I'm sure. But so Sparky called. We get our orders from him. He's the only one who knows who the big boss is. Okay, so we have the worker bees. We have Sparky, who is the intermediary. He is the foreman, let's say. And now we know that there is someone in charge over Sparky. We kind of wondered about Sparky when he was first introduced. You know, is he the main man? Now we find out, no, he's the intermediary. What's the next scheduled act of destruction? The Grand Span Bridge. It's been fixed so that when the Limited crosses, it'll collapse. Superman takes off. Now, this is genuine. Okay, this messing up the train makes sense. It's an overpass, and they have weakened, which if you really dig in, I'm not sure how they could have done this kind of damage to the overpass legs, but pillars that hold it up. But it looks like it's, thousands of years old and is starting to crumble is what it looks to me. So I don't know how on short notice you can do that unless you got somebody with like a hammer and chisel or a jackhammer or something. So they're going to take one of the legs, one of the supporting beams out of the overpass over a river that the train uses. And what will happen is when the weight of the train, I would assume, gets to a certain point, it'll cause the collapse of the bridge, which will cause some portion or all of the train to plummet down into the river that they're crossing.
Yeah.
Several panels. We see one of the damage. We've seen one so that you know there are people in the train. And then we see what's supposed to be the train approaching, I guess. It's kind of almost as bad as the collision, or the collision of the two, I think, is a little bit more clear than this. This may be the least clear of the panels in the story.
Yeah.
Superman plummets Superman, I should say. And this is getting up to being one of my all-time favorite types of rescue that I ever see Superman do. And that's where he will lay across a piece of missing track, and he will be the train rail, and the train just passes over him while he's laying here. Yeah. So we're working up to that. Right now, what he does is he flies down to the foot of this supporting pillar, and he holds it steady. We see that even though he's doing this, it's not 100%, because we see that cracks start to form, additional damage from the weight of the train, which is what was supposed to happen. And then once the train has completely passed over the bridge, it doesn't show that Superman lets up on trying to hold it, but the bridge does just fall on him. The overpass falls on Superman. And two panels kind of showing the might of Superman. The one panel on the left, it's all collapsing down on him. He doesn't appear to be hurt. He says, "I've lost." I don't know. Meaning that he didn't save the bridge, maybe.
Yeah, but I don't think he knows at this point that the bridge is collapsing. He doesn't know. He's assuming at this point that the train is coming down with it.
Oh, that he didn't. It didn't pass by. Okay. And then the next panel, he digs himself out from under the rubble. So we see a couple Superman being super panels here side by side.
And for some reason, as he's digging himself out, he yells, "Up there!"
The Man of Steel burrows himself free from the debris is the narration. I don't know what that has to do with. Next panel, we see the train on the other side as the train officials and maybe some of the people that were riding recognize what had happened. Maybe the bridge was moving enough or something like that, the overpass, that they could tell something was wrong. Now they have gotten past it. I guess they're looking off the back of the train as it's going on. I don't know. You can't tell if it's stopped or whatever. Just think how narrowly we escaped death. I'll send on a message at once to stop all trains headed toward the bridge, which is a good idea. Way to think ahead, dog. And yeah, the picture, for those of you that can see the panel bottom left, you see that the span is now open, that there's no overpass there.
Yeah.
And now to square accounts with a certain double-crossing worm named Sparky Waters, Superman says as he zooms back into town from wherever the train overpass is. Shortly after, Superman streaks in through the window of Sparky's office. He's not there, but there is a memorandum laying out on Sparky's desk saying that he is meeting Thornton Bigsby at this time. Don't know who Bigsby is. That's the first time. Superman tells us, though, as he's flying to, I guess, Bigsby's office, Bigsby is one of the most powerful industrialists in the nation. What connection could he have with Waters? Well, at this point in the story, it's pretty much a given what his connection must be with everything else that has occurred. So you would think, personally, I make no claims to my level of intelligence. I knew who Bigsby was because of this. You would think that Superman would have to know. But yeah, I guess you can't give it away. That way you finish reading.
That's right.
Give it away. Give it away.
Give it away now. Give it away. Yabba dabba yabba dabba dabba. Do
Sorry.
now. That's
and you guys just get the smallest inkling as I sit here and talk of the things that go through my head. 1 out of every 15 or 20 come out my mouth. The rest are staying up here. So
that's willpower right there. That's
all the time, especially when it comes to song lyrics. I guess that thing about how music really sets a place in your mind once you hear songs and things. Song lyrics every other sentence out of my mouth has a song lyric, and the song starts to play in my head.
Yeah.
So
Savon was thinking the same thing. She says, I had the same thought. Thank you.
Yep. Glad we could help you out. Meanwhile, in the sumptuous mansion of Thornton Bigsby. Okay, so Superman's not going to the office. He's going to isn't that like a nice, big, kind of inviting, sumptuous? That's interesting. Another interesting word choice. Superman became interested in your activities, but I arranged to have him taken care of. That's Sparky talking to Bigsby. You have done very well, Waters. Yes.
The definition of sumptuous, something lavish, luxurious, or costly, often referring to rich food, clothing, or surroundings.
Yeah, see, food. I think of the word sumptuous with
sumptuous,
food.
Yeah.
Sumptuous not with my couch back here or my wooden desk or So now I will say, I guess in the 40s, the word is used much differently than what we do now, which there are words all over the dictionary that are like that. It's, so. Sparky Waters, neat scheme you have. First, you ruin the reputation of, and here is the bad guy giving away his plan, which is, of course, if no one else knows what's going on, the bad guy will know. So he has to be the one to tell us, So, first, you ruin the reputation of Garth and Cowles so that its stock drops to a low level. Then you buy control of the company for a song. So there's what's going on, trying to ruin them and then snatch up all their assets and add them to whatever assets he has. Without you to supervise the strong arm tactics, I'd never have been successful, he tells Sparky. But now that your usefulness is done, and because you are the only man living who can connect me with the railway sabotage, you must die, he says, drawing a gun on Sparky. Sparky is so taken aback that the cigar he is smoking drops from his mouth. He is agape, and the cigar falls from his mouth.
No, and boss, says, I'll never squeal on you. Don't shoot.
There you go. That's Sparky with the cigar falling from his mouth. Well, to no avail. Sparky gets shot, and he throws himself back in this very dynamic pose, his head flipping, hat flipping off his head, and all this stuff. And then, is it Bigsby? What's his name? Bigsby, as in the wolf from Bigsby. Grabs Sparky. Okay, which in order to do this, he'd had to grab him from the floor, I would assume. But he shoves him out the window by his feet, almost like he's going to hang him out the window to try to scare him. Yeah. But he's throwing him out of the office in his house. And he says, and that finishes you. I'll dispose of your body permanently later. So he's just it must be the back-facing side of the house, right? It's not the driveway, the curb appeal side of the house that he's dumping a body out the window to land on the lawn. So it must be the back. He's like, yeah, I'll get the body later. I'm just getting him out of my office, So
this is the single favorite panel of the story. As someone who has ADHD or autism and ADHD, there's a little thing that I read once that has always helped me. It's when you get something out, when you're done with it, put it away. Don't put it down. Because I'm apt, I just put it down, and then shit just is all over the place, right? I don't put it away. Right. That's what this makes me think of, is that he's like, all right, well, I'll take care of that later.
I'll do something later. Okay.
Like a week later, he goes into the backyard to do something. He's like, oh yeah, I got to do something about that.
There's that dude. Oh man, I forgot.
He's doing dishes and stuff, and he's like, oh crap, I got to do something about the dead guy in the backyard.
Yeah. He's just living his life for however long, and then he remembers, oh, there's a dead body in the yard right next to the house. That's right. So Superman comes on scene. He sees Sparky thrown out the window. Now, he tells us that way we know what has happened, even though we saw in the panel before that dude dumped Sparky out the window, so we kind of knew. But he sees Sparky. He plummets down after the falling figure, Superman catches it. Superman saying, so the partners in crime have fallen out. There's your thing. 1 minute later, Superman, but I thought you thought wrong. I'm alive and very much capable of wringing your craven neck. Kind of harsh.
Yeah.
And what happened there? That was weird. Okay. Bigsby tells him, I've killed one man today, another. And he says, perhaps.
You keep freezing on me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw you freeze too there. Is everything,
let's shake it off.
Everything doing okay? Okay. So, Bigsby fires at Superman with his revolver that he killed Sparky with. Why not try a pea shooter? It might be more effective, Superman says. As we see the bullets, he's trying multiple times and the bullets are just bouncing off his chest. Now you're going to get the fate you deserve, but legally, in a court of law. I'll never be convicted. Sparky was the only one who could have supplied damaging testimony against me, and he's dead, says Bigsby. Superman reaches out the window. So maybe this is on the first floor of the house. I don't know. That is open to conjecture, he says. And Sparky says, I never heard, or I heard everything he said. And it looks like, I don't know, that Sparky was hanging outside the window there by the way that his coat is.
I don't know.
Superman hung him outside the window so he could listen or something. Now he says, Superman says, you see Sparky is severely wounded but still alive.
And I've propped him up here next to the desk.
Yeah, I put him next to the window, or I hung him by the way. Whatever he did here, but the panel is he's reaching outside the window and grabbing Sparky and ultimately pulling him back into the house. So, and now Bigsby's like, "Don't testify me. I'll pay you anything." And Sparky says, "This time I can't be bought off. It'll give me the greatest pleasure to see you convicted." So now, backup plan, of course. Bigsby reaches into his pocket or wherever and he's got a poison pill. And he's going to kill himself. He's going to take a pill that'll kill him. You'll never get me alive, he says, as his hand is moving, and you can see a little pill in his hand. I don't know that you guys can see it on the screen, but there's a little white pill in his hand. He's about to pop it, and Superman smacks his hand and says, "That's what you think. You're going to pay the full penalty for your crime." Superman calls the police. You'll find customers awaiting you at Thornton Bigsby's mansion and at Butch Fletcher's hideout. So apparently the police know enough to know those names both and know where the location is, because that's the only location information.
Not a very good hideout if both Superman and the police know where it is.
I work 911, and I know that the Bigsby mansion and Butch Fletcher's hideout typically is not going to be enough information for me to get anybody there. So need a little bit more in the 21st century, which arguably we have even more information than we did. But we need more information than that, just a little bit. Later at the Daily Planet, nice job. This is Perry. Even the railroad people are pleased at your complete expose of Bigsby's plot. Clark says, more important to me is that those cold-blooded mass murderers got what was coming to them. So there's the moral of the story. The end.
Yay. I made a one note as we were going through this, and it was just a note on the name of the bridge that they wreck.
Okay.
The Grand Span Bridge. They didn't flex a lot of creative muscles coming up with the name of that one. That's like calling a skyscraper the big tall building.
The high tower.
Yeah.
It's in the high tower. Well, but we've already seen that there is a bluey blue and a red Dugan and a white Smith as characters in this book. So it's like, maybe, I don't know. Imagination was already stretched enough, and they're just kind of running dry a little bit. Oh, who cares what we call it? Well, if it doesn't make that big a deal, then spend a second and call it something good.
Yeah.
So, good fun. Like I said, I don't know if I said while we were recording or not. But from the guys that brought you Smallville and Metropolis, that's this is true.
Savon says,
you're not. Things haven't been stretched imaginatively too much to begin with. So and now come on, you have to admit though, in the late 30s, coming up with this character called Superman, that is quite a bit of imagination stretch compared to what you have had literally up to that point. Particularly pulpy mass market kind of stuff. So, I guess they had a burst, and then they've fallen back here a little bit, and they're just using these little injections of creativity as they need to. The big creative juices were used up with the concept of Superman, alien planet, Krypton exploding, baby rocket ship, all of that. Now they're like, we'll call it the Big Span Bridge. Maybe like High Tower. That'll be a good name. Yeah. So
the really tall building.
Yeah, which is, we make fun of it, but if that's what you call it, I pretty much guarantee that everybody will know that one building and where it is.
Oh yeah,
which one that is. So it's
Savon says 100%, and I actually rather like the obvious names. There's something wonderfully naive about it. Yeah, I agree.
It's very much. Unless you're doing something that you're trying to do that, it very much puts what you are watching, listening to, reading, whatever, in a certain time. I think that earlier than now, because now you're not as want to see obvious things like that unless it's a younger person's book, or unless they're purposefully trying to make obvious names.
Yeah.
Just generally the names of things seldom anymore are obvious. We've I don't know, creatively gotten away from that for whatever reason. So,
all right. One more note about this story. There on the last page, that the middle row of panels, when the Bigsby is saying, "Don't testify against me. I'll pay you anything." This is where they mixed up the word balloons. It looks like they have Sparky's word balloon pointed toward Bigsby and Bigsby's word balloon.
Because if that's the case, Sparky is reaching into his jacket about to pull out the poison pill that we see in the next scene. So that's got to be Bigsby because he's reaching in this. And so ultimately he feared that at some point he would meet Superman, and the way of not having to deal with Superman was carrying around poison pills. I mean, if he's just dealing with regular men, is he really going to carry around pills so that he can kill himself?
I guess I don't know if that's more just a fear of prison.
It's very extreme, I thought.
But there's a let's wait to see if you're convicted first, buddy.
Anything. I mean, this time the bad guys are getting off from jail all the time for different reasons, money, buying off the judges, whatever. It's like, in the early 40s in fiction, conviction is not a definite thing for bad guys. So,
all right, final thoughts.
Fun, different feel than the action installments and the Superman installments, even though even in the Superman books there's 3 to 5 different stories. In the action, because it's an anthology, there typically is only one story in the action comics. But this still had to me, it just had a different feel in the writing, in the way the story moved from, and the way that it was illustrated panel to panel. There are still some goofy things that, in my mind, that I pointed out, particularly about the art. I think that is more consistent with the time frame than we're talking about than the fact that it's a Superman story. But it had a different feel overall than the other typical Superman strips that we have been reading. And I say typical because this is only the 3rd issue of this particular book. So Superman hasn't been in it for very long. Actually, it's only the 2nd issue of this book under this title.
Yep.
So.
For me, I agree. Some words I want to use, I guess, to describe the story: light, airy. I like the art. It's very bright and colorful. We had a couple of panels with some muddy coloring, but but still, that's it's what, 1941.
Yeah. There are a lot of things that can be, I think, or that should be forgiven in technique. And I mean, at this point, comic books are profoundly young in their creation. It's not a media that has been perfected by any means yet. So, now comic strips, like in newspapers, those have been around way long by this point. But even they are relatively newer.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with a media, even if you want to go so far as calling it a technology, that's a technology of entertainment. It's new. It's very new. Trying things, not necessarily realizing that things don't work until much farther in the process for those things that don't work. So, so a lot of that in my mind can be forgiven, and it can just be, I think you take that in just as the way things were at that time, good or bad, the way that people are treated, the way that people are talked about, things. Even those things at this time are not what we would prefer today. And so when you read this stuff, you just have to take everything into account as, well, this was made in 1941, 42, 43. That's why it is the way that it is. Not trying to excuse it, not trying to put a judgment right or wrong on it, but just saying what you're reading is from 1941, 2, 3, and that's why it is the way it is.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to take into consideration.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before I wrap it up, I did make a note about the issue itself. One of the stories in this issue, the last story in this issue, actually, which we're not talking about the story because it's a Batman story, but the Batman and Robin story that appears in this issue, the riddle of the human scarecrow. This is the first appearance of Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. So
cool beans. Yeah. Okay. In a brand new book like this, they drop what will go on to be a pillar of Batman's rogues gallery for sure. So that's cool.
Yeah. Based on the title of the story, I had to look up look up to see what it was about, because I assumed it would have both the Riddler and the Scarecrow, but no, it's just the Scarecrow. But it's his Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. It's his first appearance. So
cool beans. Yeah. And as we record this, I will make an announcement and say that 1 week from today is the anniversary of the Superman Super Show.
That's right.
4 years ago, next weekend, was the drop of the first episode of the show. So Steven and I have been doing this, by the time this episode comes out, for longer than 4 years.
April 18th, 2022 is when we... In fact, if you're there, I've been putting out these episodes of Steven or Else, in which I have just basically been taking audio from any audio that I may have recorded over the last 20 years. But the most recent...
over the last how long?
20 years.
You've been doing this for how long?
20 years. Okay. Since 2006.
That's a long ass time, dog.
Of course, there was like 9 years off in there at one point, but still.
That's a long ass time, man.
Yeah.
You people recognize that.
Yeah.
And I'm not making fun of Steven. I've been podcasting for that long as well. Yeah. So the two of us, it's like, this has been a thing.
We're old men. That's why I had to get up in the middle of a live stream to go to the bathroom.
That's right.
But the most recent, as of the recording of this episode, the most recent episode of Steven or Else that's out there is episode 5, and it's just called a Superman episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a bit in there that I recorded a while back about the publishing date of Action Comics #1. It's something I put together as just, it's supposed to be funny. It's probably not, but it's supposed to be funny. Like I'm on this researching this controversial mystery conspiracy in regard to because the date that it was published, because the general knowledge, if you ask DC Comics, when was it published? They will tell you April 18th, 1938. However, if you look at, for example, Mike's Amazing World of Comics, it will tell you that it was probably published on like May the 2nd or something, 1938. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. Apparently the April 18th date is the copyright date, blah, 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 blah. But that's why we released that first episode on April 18th, because that's the common knowledge date.
Anniversary date, yeah.
But yeah. All right.
Cool beans.
Wrap this sucker up then. Next time on the Superman Super Show, when Lois and Clark set out upon a... When Lois and Clark set... Good Lord. When Lois and Clark set out upon a...
Okay.
Here, I just happen to have some super glue here. Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. It's an airplane reference. When Lois and Clark set out upon a vacation, it appears that the customary excitement and adventure which persist in intruding upon a reporter's life are left behind. But before they realize it, they are in the midst of another thrill-packed experience, made all the more dramatic by the timely appearance of the amazing Man of Steel, Superman. That's coming up on episode 98, when Ed and I take a look at Peril on Pogo Island, the first of 4 Superman tales that appeared in Superman #12, published by DC Comics in July of 1941. So until next time, folks, I'm Steven, that's Ed, and this was the Superman Super Show. Thanks for listening.
Ciao.
Look at everybody in the comments laughing at me. Savon's laughing at me.
No, that was already there.
Oh,
both the Savon and the Bill from Long Island. Savon saying words are hard. That was in reference to your inability to read.
Yes,
that's
words are hard. Pogo Island, is that? I feel like that's where right after Infinite Crisis, we get the new Blue Beetle series with Ted Kord. I feel like Pogo Island is a part of that. That's like who's the guy that was Garrett? Dan Garrett, the original Blue Beetle. He died on Pogo Island or something. Is it Pogo Island? I don't remember. Are you looking it up?
I'm looking up something else. That pineapple Pocopo.
Pineapple Pogo. What?
Pineapple Pocopo. That was a character from the Tick animated series.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's see here. Pogo Island, DC Comics. Oh, I'm thinking of Pago Island.
Pago. Okay. Close.
This is Pogo. So, yeah. All right.
One letter makes all the difference there.
Yep. Did you catch the final Supergirl trailer?
No, super. She just okay. No, I take that back. I did watch the trailer, trying to find a reason to watch that movie, and maybe that final trailer did it. Maybe because the previous trailers of the I don't give a flick party girl, whatever, superhero, just it doesn't reflect anything about me as a person. So there was no interest there. Now, the fact that final trailer, and I think some other things that I've read indicate that a lot of that other stuff is not a major part of the movie, but more the way that final trailer makes the movie seem, if you extend out for a whole hour and a half or whatever it's going to be, then maybe there would be enough for me to go. Either way, I would buy the DVD to watch it. Yeah. But if I'm interested enough, I would go and watch it at the theater. Yeah, the final trailer, the actual trailer that was released. I don't know that the others were actual trailers or if they're teasers or partials or whatever. It does paint the character in a different light than anything that they had put out before. So that was good.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I told because it hits theaters the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Karen that for my birthday, which is in July, said I want us all to go see Supergirl in the theaters. I said, but the night before, I want us to all sit down and watch Superman.
Okay. Now, the next movie the wife and I are going to go see is the next Hugh Jackman movie.
Hugh Jackman?
Yes.
What's he got coming out?
He is a shepherd.
Oh yes, that looks so good with the sheep.
She said she wants to see that, and I had not seen anything about it. I looked it up, and I'm like, done.
Hell yeah! I ran across that trailer. I subscribed to some. I think it's the Rotten Tomatoes YouTube channel, and they put a lot of trailers up there, and I saw that, and I was kind of watching it, and I was like, what is this? And then at one point, you're just like, okay, this I want to see this movie.
Yeah. And to me, it's kind of interesting. If you've watched enough trailers, you see that the talking animal seems to be a thing here the last 3 or 4 years. It's a recent thing, which is okay. Not necessarily my bag, but okay. But the fact that you got Hugh Jackman to be in one of these movies, I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. And there's a couple other arguably bigger names that's in the movie, but they're not names that attract my attention. Hugh Jackman is the person. I'm a very big Hugh Jackman fan. I like everything that I've seen him do.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus does the voice of one of the sheep.
Yeah, there are some voices in there. Yeah.
What's it called? Is it Detective Sheep or Sheep Detective? Something like
Detective Sheep. Yeah. Which is based on a novel by a German author, and he has written 3. But only the first one has been translated to English. And his third novel is coming out later this month after the release of the movie. Now, I don't know if that's why, but so there are actually only 2 right now if you were to try to find them. The third one being released at the end of the month. But yeah, it's based on a novel. Reading the synopsis of the novel and then, having watched that trailer, there are some story variations, which almost always seems to be the case. I don't know why they can't take a novel and just translate it directly to movie, but they don't. But if I enjoy the movie as much as I think I will, I'll probably go pick up the novel just to see. Yeah.
One of the things I like the most about that trailer are the moments where they will show like the sheep talking to each other. Like the 2 that seem to like to bash up everything, and they're on
the 2 rams,
and they're like yelling or something, and then you see it from the human's perspective, and they're just going bah, 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 bah.
Yep. What are they doing?
Yeah, really funny. I don't know if I've mentioned it yet since we went live. Of course, but yeah, I'm going to Colorado this week. Tuesday through Thursday, leaving Tuesday morning, coming back Thursday evening, going to Denver. We're going for the second time so Rana can see Hatsune Miku live, the Japanese thing. So looking forward to that. Going to go stop by Mile High Comics again, see what's up over there. Rana really wants to go to a Buc-ee's. Do you guys have any Buc-ee's? BUC /EE? Yeah.
Nope. I know of them, but no, there's nothing here.
There's one in Colorado, so we're going to go to that as well. So, yeah.
Cool beans. Good to have goals.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we stop the live stream?
I don't think so. Next 2 weeks, Steven and I will be sitting down and recording another Kitty Wolverine for the Comic Book Super Show. For those of you that may be interested in that, I don't know. There's no connection being a Superman fan that I assume that you're a fan of Kitty Wolverine. So, but there you go. 2 weeks we'll be doing this again, talking about Kitty Wolverine.
We We are averaging. Let me tell you about the Comic Book Super Show right now. We're averaging 25 downloads a week.
And they don't come out every week.
Yeah.
So that is
most
100
of the
a month.
episodes, like the most current one that went out, which is 2, because Monday, tomorrow, episode 3 drops.
Mm-hmm.
But like episode 2 has 10 downloads.
Okay.
So, but it's only the second episode, you know?
Somebody listens to it.
Yeah. I think people will jump on board once we get, I don't know, I think it's like 10 or 15 is the magic number.
Oh, of episodes?
Yeah. People like to see that.
And what is it? Most shows don't go past 3 or
something like that.
5 or something. I mean, a really low number.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, every podcast I've ever been on had a hell of a lot more than that. So yeah.
Well, it's because there are folks out there, and I've experienced them myself with helping editing and whatnot, but who will just assume I'm going to start a podcast and then I'm going to sell ad space and make money and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
It's like, sure, you can do that, but you'll probably be unless you happen to capture lightning in a bottle, you're going to be podcasting for a couple years before you see anything.
Yep.
And so once that third episode or whatever's out and they're like, oh, it's 10, I still only got like 10 people watching or listening. Boom, done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Yeah.
Yep.
Because it can be a lot of work.
There's not that many Joe Rogans out there, folks,
right,
to capitalize on that stuff.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you, Bill from Long Island. Thank you, Savon. Did Billy D show up at one point? No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Thank you, Savon. Bill from Long Island. Just want you to know, I wish I could show it to you right now, but I'm looking at the laptop. I'm using the laptop, using it right now. And it's awesome. There you go. It's awesome.
Thank you for that, Bill.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.